The diversion of hundreds of vessels from the Suez Canal to the Cape of Good Hope as a result of Yemeni Houthi attacks in the Red Sea is putting further pressure on the Egyptian economy and causing a disruption of services. The Houthi group's attacks on the Red Sea shipping began in November 2023, purportedly in response to Israeli strikes on Gaza. Tensions escalated further this month after American and British airstrikes targeted Houthi sites in Yemen. According to the chairman of the Suez Canal Authority, Osama Rabia, the number of ships passing through the Suez Canal in the first half of January dropped by 32% to 544 vessels from 777 last year. Meanwhile, revenue declined by 40% during the same period. The Suez Canal is a vital component of Egypt's economy, accounting for 2% of Egypt's gross domestic product. The importance of the canal to the North African country has been highlighted by the Egyptian Prime Minister.
To transform Egypt into a real global logistical trade and industrial hub, we needed the required infrastructure, from roads and all types of ports to transport products swiftly from one side of the world to the other. The Suez Canal project has achieved that goal, and we all know this project has been the cornerstone of our economic development.
In statements to local media, the chairman of the Suez Canal has moved to ease fears over the impact of the recent escalations on the future of the canal, terming it a short-term crisis related to a military conflict between Israel and Palestine. Officials say they're working on limiting the damage caused by the attacks.
The chairman of the Suez Canal announced they will be offering incentives and discounts on fees to some of the vessels that are still crossing the canal, while others will be given discounts for maintenance work and bunkering services to encourage more ships to stay with us.
The alternative trade routes to the Suez Canal are either around the Cape of Good Hope in South Africa, which is much longer and more expensive, or through air freights, which limits the amount of cargo that aircrafts can carry. But being a major source of hard currency for the cash-strapped North African economy, some experts believe the strategy should not be about seeking alternatives to the Suez Canal, but how to protect the waterway in the future.
There must be an international decision that makes it integral to secure all water straits. Any instability at any of the straits or waterways, for example, the Suez and Panama canals, will affect the global economies and populations. Therefore, after this conflict ends, there must be an international security treaty to effectively protect all waterways and straits from political confrontations.
For now, officials in Egypt are banking on a quick end to the conflict in Gaza to de-escalate tensions in the region. Yes, Hakim for CGTN, Cairo, Egypt.
Well, let's delve further into this with Adel El Mahoui. He joins us now in Cairo. Adel, always good to have you with us on the show. Now, as just mentioned in Yasser's package, authorities are saying they're working on limiting the damage and also mitigating the impact of the ongoing tension on that Red Sea route, such as, of course, offering repair services to ships that have been damaged. Talk to us about some of the measures they say they plan to take.
Well, basically what the Suez Canal Authority is trying to do is trying to give a kind of guarantees for support, at least, for the ships that decide to go through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait south of the Red Sea all the way through the Suez Canal. But the services that have been in place, including, for example, introducing repair services for just a Greek ship that has been hit by a Houthi missile, is just part of the regular services that the Suez Canal already provides. It already provides emergency assistance, refueling, packaging, supplying with logistics, as well as repair for all the ships that pass through the Suez Canal. But of course, for these ships to get such services, they have to be in the Egyptian domestic waters. Beside that, the Egyptian head of the Suez Canal Authority, Osama Rabia, has been in continuous talks virtually and in person with the heads of all the shipping firms, the biggest of them in the world, responsible for most of the flow of ships into Suez Canal, trying to see how they can work together to ensure the safety of the vessels quite quickly. Because, Uche, it's not just that that their safety is jeopardized by the Bab el-Mandab attacks or instability because of the US and the UK strikes on the Houthis or of the Houthis attacks on the ships. But also going all the way through the Cape of Good Hope means a longer duration in open waters and sometimes a very challenging weather conditions. So the insurance for these routes are higher. The cost of crew and fuel are also higher. So there is also an add-on expense. It's just basically which will be safer and less expensive. That's basically what these companies are trying to reach, and that's what the Suez Canal Authority is trying to convince them with.
And of course, that's because the Suez Canal is so critical to Egypt's economy. And we know the developments in the Red Sea, they're significant, especially because they're compounding an already severe financial crisis in Egypt right now. So how is the state planning to work around this, stabilize the economy in light of all this?
Well, the state has been actually on this issue for several months, basically throughout the past year, but in recent months more so because of the crunch in the US dollar and the foreign currencies in general. It has seen a huge gap between the USD, the US dollars and foreign exchange rates in general in the official market and in the parallel market, with a gap almost doubling the figures traded in the official market. And therefore, the government has been trying to have a strong approach to that. One of that is that imposing harsh measures on the parallel market trading, trying to push everything to the official. Beside that, the government is also working on the economy itself, trying to make sure at least that the turbulences in the Red Sea will not affect Egypt's food security, for instance. And the government has been raising its stock of strategic grains and goods in general, like wheat, like vegetable oils and beans, to make sure that at least if this turbulence is at its peak and it stretches longer, it does not affect one of the main security issues for Egypt, which is food security. Other than that, the economy and the valuation of the Egyptian pound is definitely on the table. There are also talks about reshuffling the business and economic cabinet in the government in what has been expected to be a following up in a cabinet reshuffle that follows President El-Sisi's re-election last month.
But what about the international community, Adel? Because there have been whispers that Egypt is going back to the table with the IMF and also working with the EU and other neighboring countries to ensure economic stability through funding. What do you know about that?
Well, about the IMF and the World Bank in general, negotiations have been ongoing for months, and all the statements, until the recent statements coming out from both organizations, are saying that they will support the Egyptian government and their support should be guaranteed. However, it doesn't seem that these statements have been translating into an actual agreement with additional billions of dollars of loans Egypt is trying to seek from both organizations. That comes, of course, in terms of guarantees that the Egyptian government can provide them in terms of economic reform and how they will plan to spend this loan internally. That has always been the debate here between the two. As for Europe, Europe has also been in negotiations with Egypt for years, actually, not because of the ongoing crisis. That's according to the Egyptian foreign minister, who said that the ongoing negotiations are estimated to at least target $10 billion of loans from the European Union, and nothing has been concrete about it, but Egypt also says that it aims to or hopes to get much more than this figure as well. But the talks are still ongoing, no breakthrough there. There has been talks this week, and because the foreign minister is in Europe, he has been talking with the European Union's business economic officials in mitigation in terms of economic impact on Egypt through support of encouraging more exports from Egypt into Europe and trying to channel more European investments in the country, seeking where exactly these funds should be following in Egypt and what kind of revenue can be guaranteed in the next few years.